All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. We are here today with Jamie Warner from Envarisoft. Welcome, Jamie.
Oh, hi, Scott. Great to be here.
Good to have you. So, how are things down under?
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you asked. We're finally about to unlock Australia on the 1st of November to international travel. So, if people didn't know, we've basically locked ourselves off from the rest of the world, and now international travel is happening next week. So, I don't think people know what to do with themselves at this point. It's yeah, crazy times.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had heard from some other folks in Australia that y'all were having a tough time with the lockdown. So that's exciting news. I'm glad to know y'all are getting back to normal, a little bit of normalcy there. That's great.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, and let's have this Zoom and live stream it here. I wanted to talk about your company Envarisoft. So I don't think you're new to the MSP game. Tell me a little bit about your history and your background, how you got started. I'll let you go with it.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's like many of you. I'm an MSP. So I still have my MSP, and I started the business way back in 2000. So we're 21 years old. Because of COVID, we haven't been able to celebrate our 21st birthday yet, to be honest. So we'll probably have to be the 22nd at this stage. But yeah. So I've actually just been living and breathing the MSP thing since I left university. And so it's been my only full-time job. So it's been a great journey. I mean, we weren't called MSPs back in the early 2000s. You were just an IT support business at that point.
Sure.
And so for those listening, I've been through every iteration you can possibly imagine. And it's been hard yakka, but we've managed to scale the business to 50 staff and 5,000 desktops under management. So that's pretty cool. We did that without any acquisitions as well. So most times when businesses get to that size in the SMB space, there's usually a few bolt-ons. So we've bludgeoned our way there and learned a few things along the way on how to do that. And yeah, one of the things that we did with Invarosoft is, well, before that existed, in about 2009, I was sitting there with a quote for 2,000 mouse pads, and I was sitting in the boardroom for some reason, thinking to myself, like, they're $1 each. Like, this is crazy. And what I was trying to do was just make sure that all of our clients and users had our contact details, fundamentally. But what was going through my mind was like, the cost seems crazy. I bet you if I was in the US, that'd be like 5 cents each or something. But in Australia, everything's really expensive. So there's that part. But I genuinely thought, with this customer experience problem I had, that it just wasn't really a great solution, because not everyone's going to use a mouse pad. Even if you use stickers, like, you can't find them. And so I just thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'm going to distribute them. Half of them probably won't get used. Some of them will just get thrown in the bin straight away.
Yep.
That's not consistent, right? And so we had a customer experience problem, but I also had a productivity problem that on the side I was trying to solve too, which was that we were just getting a lot of email tickets. Most MSPs just get email tickets, email and phone, and it's usually like something like 50-50 or somewhere in that range.
Sure.
But of the email tickets we were getting, we just were never getting the right info. Like, it was always gobbledygook, and you then had to play this ping pong match back and forth to get the correct information. And so all of that was causing a lot of frustration. And plus, we wanted to do smarter things around our ticketing system. So if you can get the correct ticket information in on the first place, you could then use workflow rules and routing and stuff like that to push it off to the right teams or people, even if you've only got a few people. Giving your level 1 person the level 1 tickets and the level 2 the level 2, right?
Sure.
Automatically, so they're not cherry picking and getting confused. So there was a few little 1%ers around productivity that we're trying to solve, and the larger one around email. And so that's when it occurred to me, I'm like, why don't we have like a digital mouse pad? So that's where it basically started. We're like, well, what? It's an app economy. Everybody's using apps on your phone. Maybe we should build an app on Windows at the first instance. Then it went to mobile, and now what I'm going to be showing you today is Teams as well. And so we did. We built a nice branded app. I thought, well, it's never going to get old. It never get tired. It's going to have our brand gleaming on every device every day. And so we built it and used it as an internal solution for a number of years. And to be honest, right from the get-go, from a user perspective, it was a hit. Like, it's always been a hit. Like, users love it because, of course, if you compare an email experience versus an app experience, an app, they know where it is. So they haven't had to find the email first and foremost. And it's just easier to sort of log a ticket and give you the right information and all that sort of jazz. So nowadays it does a lot more than that. But I guess the story goes is that in around 14, 15, I thought, I just don't understand why the PSAs and the RMM tools, well, those larger companies aren't focusing on the customer. So I'll talk more about that today, but ultimately we thought, let's commercialize it. We took it to market, launched in late 17, and through feedback from the market, it's really evolved now. This platform's a bit of a beast, but it's super easy to set up. So yeah, really excited to sort of show a few people today.
So Envarisoft is 3 or 4 years old now then, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is there any meaning behind the name Envarisoft?
Well, if you actually try and find a name that you can get the domain names for, it was actually really hard. So it wasn't probably my first choice, but the meaning behind it is around innovation. So it's a very loose sort of derivative of innovation. And so basically, the purpose for being of my MSP, which really is, bearing in mind Envarosoft's an offshoot of that, it's the same DNA and our purpose. So, when you hear people say, what's your vision and what's your purpose? Our purpose for a long, long time has always been to innovate and improve the way IT services are delivered to small to medium businesses. That's why we get out of bed every day. So that's why Envarosoft's called Envarosoft, and it's all about innovating the way we do it.
Well, now, do you still own your MSP as well, Jamie?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
And still growing, still doing really well. So, it's a bigger business now. Sorry, I should say. Obviously, in the scheme of businesses, it's not that big, but it's got a strong management team. So I spend sort of 95% of my time in Envarosoft at this point.
I got you. Well, it seems like you have actually, you probably enjoy working. If you had to take a pick between the two, probably maybe a little more with Envarisoft then.
I do. It's another big challenge. Like eNerds eNerds is the name if you want to check it out. eNerds.com.au.
Okay.
What happens with a business is once you get out of the day-to-day yourself, it becomes, you've got to start looking at it more like an asset. And it's something that you've obviously worked really hard on process and procedure, organizational structure, management teams, systems, all those sort of things. And it becomes just this little engine, depending on what type of business it is, but in MSPs, they sort of scale slowly. So it just kind of goes along and keeps growing and does its thing. And so therefore, yes, it is a little more interesting being in Envarosoft because we're reinventing at a faster pace than we ever did internally, and really getting that feedback from the markets. It's been really quite enjoyable to learn more about my own space, I have to say. I don't think I was never involved in the communities specifically for whatever reason. And I've really enjoyed it.
Well, it sounds like you've done a great job at building up 2 fantastic businesses that are highly scalable.
Absolutely. So, yeah, no, feel very lucky.
That's great. Well, let's take a deep dive and take a look. You want to share your screen and we'll kind of go in, kind of dig into it and take a look at what it is?
Let's get stuck in. So, so this is a little presentation we honed through just to give you a bit of an overview of the platform, and then obviously I'll share show you the tech in action just a little bit there. So today is not designed to show you every single feature, but certainly you'll get the gist of it all through this presentation. So the first thing to note is that this is the new customer experience category. So if you're used to talking about PSA and RMM and documentation, customer experience is the category we're trying to create. There are other competitors in our market, which is great. It just shows that this is important. If you were to give it an acronym, it's customer experience, CX. Have you got a CX platform? And what I'm saying to people is that you really need to think about CX and plug that hole in your business. And at the moment, you'll be doing it with mouse pads and stickers. But what we believe is that every MSP fundamentally is a customer service business that happens to be in technology. We're not technology businesses. So if we're customer service businesses, and that's kind of the reason why we lose or win clients, then really customer experience should be everything. And modernizing it to the way in which consumers and these users who are consumers get their personal experience of technology should be the way forward. We're supposed to be technologists, and so what we sort of challenge people to say is like, do you believe this too, or are you a Nokia MSP?
I had one of those.
I did too, actually. I was kind of a late adopter on it, but that's the point, right? Like, the Nokia methodology is mouse pads and stickers, and you've got to understand, like, we're supposed to be seen as the technology advisor. And that's what our role. Yet to interact with your technology advisor, it's quite possibly the most old-fashioned way in the world to do it. Right? Pick up a phone or email. And in an age of, it's an app economy, there is no doubt about that now. There is an app for everything. It makes sense that the experience is a little more modern. So that's what we challenge people to think. And if you think you're not a Nokia MSP, but you're still doing mouse pads and stickers, then, you know, you might want to start thinking about what else you can do, which is what we'll show you today. So interestingly, there is actually 2,000 plus MSPs out there that have picked a CX platform. So this is the new category that's starting to really ramp up. I think that number is just going to grow and grow and grow until there's sort of 10, 15,000 people doing something in this space. You just email will go. So if you want to know about me, and when I go to bed at night, I think about things, I just sit there going, email's got to go. It's got to go. It is, as the front end, as the channel that they log that first ticket, it's not a good way of doing it. And so that's what we're working hard to try and help with. So let's,
Jamie,
I
want to interrupt you, ask you a question while it's fresh on my mind.
Go for it.
So I also own an MSP, and this is the first that I've heard of the customer experience platform, the CX platform, as you call it. Does Envarisoft have any competitors? And if you do, I don't want to know their name. I just want to know, are you the only one, and are you the only channel vendor operating in this space right now?
No. Yeah, no, we're not. And there are a few competitors out there, and I don't mind mentioning them, because people that are actually going to review this, you should review all the platforms. And you know, we're backing ourselves to be number one in this space. We will get there, and it's still sort of an open slather. Nobody's really full on scaled yet, but it's happening and it's growing, and we're seeing the adoption really accelerate on our end. So, you know, people like Cloud Radial, people like Desk Director, people like Help Desk Buttons. These are the guys trying to help in this space. And again, I think what we're creating is ideally number one, but you got to check it out, and it's good to have competition, because we all push each other, and I think there's no harm in knowing who's out there and what's shaping this category.
Very good.
So I'll give you a bit of an overview of the platform, just so you get a sense of what it actually is. So what is a customer experience platform? Well, basically, we sit between the PSA and the clients. You've already got all these other tools that you're using, but there really isn't anything awesome other than the mouse pads and stickers sitting in between that experience. So effectively, if the incumbent channels for support are email and phone, what we say is you can complement those with the Envarisoft platform, or ideally, you actually phase out support at. That's what we do in our MSP, and we get well over 100 tickets a day. And we basically say to clients, if it's urgent, call. Phones are really important. You obviously need phone. But if it's not urgent, use the app, use the client portal, and communicate that way. So it's made up of 3 pillars. This is how we're defining it, so that people kind of get their head around what's going on. The first pillar is the end user experience. So this is where we've got our Microsoft Teams app we're launching, our desktop and mobile apps, where that's the gateway to get in and for them to find you. So the biggest thing we're solving here is a behavioral problem of it being available on the desktop task tray, on the desktop itself, so that there's just no confusion of where they need to go to get to the IT support. You can have your own task tray button or the IT button that we have. We've found, interestingly and behaviorally, that the IT button gets the most utilization, because it's just the most obvious for users. You know, like for your IT business, this is where a lot of people go wrong. So some people listening to this might go, oh, I've tried the RMM and it doesn't work. Well, A, the RMM agent looks horrible, and B, you're probably using an icon that people just can't get their head around, right?
Gotcha.
So, I mean, if you were to use sort of the Cat5 cable in your, you know, the end of the Cat5 cable, and you're trying to explain that to someone as the icon, like it's just too hard. So, and those are things you got to think about. But the cool thing about the end user experience is you're now getting this wad of information, this perfect ticket than before you got sort of gobbledygook ticket. So you're getting obviously ticket type, subtype, company name, affected user. You can have screen capture. You can have forms that they have to fill in when they log a ticket if you want to, or just a couple of extra questions. You've got approvals, and you're getting the device diagnostics of the ticket. So that's what you get with the actual app version, the agent version. With the Teams app, you don't get the device diagnostics. The Teams app's kind of the fast way we're excited about to just at least get off the stickers and mouse pads in that sense. So that's the end user experience. You've then got the client portal as the second pillar. So this is where the market really determined they wanted an Office 365 integrated client portal. They want to be able to customize it and have whatever menus they want. And that's what we've built. So if you've ever used WordPress or anything like that, just imagine being able to build out your own website, basically. Super easy to do. Some of it's hard-coded things. So like our ticket view, being able to see the tickets syncing with the PSA, you just need to just put the button there and say, yep, ticket view. vCIO, you've got service catalogs. They can see their approvals, Office 365 licensing, they can see their device listings, they can see. And then, of course, you can put all your training and knowledge base in there as well. So now from the app, you've got this beautiful experience. So the app's really just there because remember, 90% of users just want to log a ticket. And then you've got the others that want to go in and find a little bit more information, the main contacts and people like that. So the Office 365 integrated client portals has been a huge hit for us. And really, that's the massive difference between trying to use the PSA's tools, which are not customizable. The thing to note here is that everything Envarisoft has built, you can customize it per client down to per user. So if you want a user to have a different set of buttons and news and apps and colors and whatever else, you can just create it and assign it and it's done. And it's the same with the client portal. If a certain client needs extra things in the portal, just copy an existing one, add the extra buttons and pages, and then assign it to the customer. So super easy.
Nice.
And we're the only ones that do that. And then, of course, you've got the toolkit. So that's the third pillar. And what we were originally thinking here, this little app here, which we'll show you, is called IT Control Panel, as opposed to this app called IT Support Panel. This is for you guys. This is for the engineers. So we thought, well, let's try and give more value about having our agent out there. So we ticked some of the boxes that the RMM and PSA tools really haven't focused on, haven't done an amazing job about it, which is live chat. So inbound, outbound. You don't have to do inbound if you feel like you're too small. I mean, even in our MSP, we're not doing inbound. We just do outbound live chat when we're trying to communicate with people. Identity security. So confirming someone's identity when they call in. So it's kind of like duo push and that type of thing.
Great.
So that's all included. And you get secured 2FA messaging. So being able to send passwords to users securely, it just pops up on their screen. They have to put a 2FA code in. They can see the password, it disappears, boom, happy days. So you can do push messaging and push broadcasting. So if Office 365 is down, you could cut through the noise of email, message pops up, fully branded, and just looks fantastic. So, and you can also in that app do the ticket logging. These, you can see behind there, it's obviously more of a vCIO platform. We decided to build that as well. That's where the market determined that our types of a CX platform should probably have that in there. And I've brought eNerd's IP to the table there. And I have to say, there's one bit in here that we do, which is how we present recommendations, that's left the other tools for dead. Like straight up, the other tools, well, they've missed it. They've missed it. And I can get into that a bit later. But ultimately, so you're getting this huge amount of benefit, all these boxes ticked for the price of about or less than a vCIO platform. It's crazy. So what these guys are charging for something that's pretty basic. So, so that's basically it. And then you've got layered on top of that is this Office 365 integration where we're actually syncing the users from Office 365, the subscribed users, into the PSA. So you can kind of just automatically keep your PSA up to date from a user perspective, which is really handy. Great. So yeah, any sort of questions that pop to mind? I've got a few more points to make before we show the demo, but anything that sort of jumps out of mind?
Well, I did have a question earlier. It would go more back to the either 1 or 2. So you've got, let's see, screen capture actually on 1. Does it have the ability to do a screen record where a client could reproduce an issue and record their screen and actually be like a video, and then it would send that off to you as well? Or is it just a static image?
At the moment, it's just a static image.
Okay.
Some of the other tools automatically every time record the screen. And from a security perspective, we just find that a little difficult to get our head around, because the
Sure.
user has no control over automatic recording of a screen, logging it as a ticket. And who knows what's on their screen and what data is going out the door. I just think as MSPs, we've got to be
Well,
quite careful
no,
about that.
what I
But what
mean,
you're saying
Jamie,
is being able to push a button
well,
and
the end
record.
user could do it. The end user
Yeah,
could
so
say, let me go
that,
ahead and start this, and then it'll record it and it'll automatically send it to the team.
what a lot of MSPs, so we will look to do a native version of that. It's actually a good idea for the system. But what a lot of MSPs are doing is using Steps Recorder here in the apps section.
Okay.
So it can actually do that as well. So yeah, that definitely would help. But what we're finding is just even getting a screenshot of the error message and the device diagnostics and just better information in the ticket for the ticket type, subtype, etc. It just accelerates the ability to kind of solve it. So that I think you're right. That's where we'll evolve to, is doing stuff like that, being able to just push another, instead of screen capture, just push another button to record it, and then it'll auto put it into the ticket.
Sure. Because then you know, the technician receiving the ticket for the first time would be able to see it, and you know, maybe the end user can't describe it verbally to the tech, but they could actually, you know, they couldn't verbalize the problem, but they could screen record and just show them in 2 seconds. So
agreed. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Okay.
Did you have another question on that area?
I think so. Everything made sense.
Cool. So why would you actually get one of these platforms? Well, the reality is there's obviously a list of, and I'll show them up there, of values that you can get from this. So if we look at number one, this is all about converting more deals. So differentiating yourself, being a bit of a purple cow, if you've ever read that book. There is no doubt in my mind that this makes a massive difference when you're pitching for new business, because the assumption is that you've got all your tools internally. A client doesn't care about that. They literally don't care. They assume you've got that. It's like going to a mechanic and then worrying that they have a tool set. Like, of course, they've got all the things they need. Like, that's the given. That's why I've come to you. So what is the customer going to get? How are you going to explain to them this awesome experience? That is where being able to demonstrate a customer experience platform that you've got, that they get, that they can use, that they can customize for themselves. It's just a massive story to say in a meeting. And so my MSP has been milking that train for a decade, because everyone else just rocks up and goes, yeah, you can call, you can, you know, we'll give you a sticker and a mouse pad. And then the client's left going, oh, okay. And then we come in and explain this amazing experience, and they're like, well, that's just way better. That's just way better. Thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Right. It just is what it is. So all these people that keep denying it out there, there's a few sort of naysayers of any new technology. You got to think from the user's perspective, not from your perspective. So if it's a technical mindset versus the people you're supporting, it's a completely different perspective. Anyway, increasing productivity. Every time you get the right tickets information, you're speeding yourself up, you're saving time. You can reduce tickets with our self-service bots that we have as well. So these pop up to say, hey, hang on, before you log a ticket, have you tried this? And you know, with the Office 365 PSA thing, all this admin time you're saving, it's huge. Improving CX, being able to increase your CSAT scores, increase referrals, show that visible value daily, better communication, live chat, push, the client and ticket portal. All of that enables you to show a better, provide better communication and visibility of what's going on. Increased security with identity management piece, and of course, improved account management with our vCIO tools. So usually, you know, when you buy something, you don't buy a feature set. You really should be buying the result, the value that it provides to you. And these are the values that you typically get. So just out of interest, Scott, like, is there any that sort of pop out to you where you go, oh, I could probably do a bit better here, and that would make a big difference for me in my MSP?
You know, I keep going back to number 2, increase productivity, reduce calls, reduce tickets. I love all that. Those 2 things right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the most popular. Often people say, it's all 6 of them. Some will say, you know, it's just a couple of it. But ultimately, these are the benefits. And this is why you would do it. right? And don't underestimate the power of number 1, 4, and even 6 as well. And I'll explain a little about that. So how do we differentiate? Well, look, we do believe we've got the number 1 desktop app and client portal. It looks the best. We want your brand to look awesome, and we put your brand up in lights. Some of our competitors, really, all you can do is put a little logo in there, and that's it. And it's whatever it is. So we think branding's important, and so that's what we focus on. We are natively across all devices, and we do an absolutely amazing job of that. vCIO tool, it's not number 1 in terms of scale, but it's definitely the number 1 best tool. I'm telling you, because of the fact that we use good, better, best to present recommendations, and everyone else pretty much just has some small column that says budget next to each item. That's the major difference there. I'll show it to you quickly so you get your head around what I'm talking about. Number 1 in utilization. That's a big thing. People go, but how do I get people to use it? Well, firstly, it needs to be identifiably easy to find. That's the first thing, hence why the Teams app as well is going to be great. But we also have training bots. So when you load the agent up, a little welcome window pops up saying, hey, welcome to ITBOG. Super excited to work with you. Click here, and it'll take them through to the portal for training or watching a video or whatever. And then you can do another reminder, and then you can do an on-demand training bot as well. So it's using our push technology to kind of just be this living, breathing experience of IT.
So you don't have to train your end users on the product. The product will train them automatically.
Correct. And that's really important. Wow. I mean, you'd obviously have to tell your main contacts what you're doing and get them just clear on what's actually going on. But it is important to have a self-training solution, because if you think about all your clients, they're going to have new users starting every day. Oh, sorry, not every day. Every month, they're going to have new staff coming in and out of these companies, right? And so you can't possibly just keep a track of like, oh, I've got to make sure they've got a mouse pad and sticker. It's just messy. So you want to have that sort of automated experience of it. We think we've got some of the best tech tools out there with IT Control Panel, obviously, and it is easy to set up and manage, which you'll see in a second. And crazily, we actually have a patent. This is patented in the US, this technology. So we actually have a patent for what we're doing here.
Can I ask you a dumb question? And we go back to that.
That's right.
The second from the bottom, number 1 tech tools. All right, you mentioned this on a screen previously, and I'm kind of scratching my head at it. I know what 2FA is. I think we all know what 2FA is, but what does it mean in the context of 2FA messaging? Is that just point-to-point and secure encrypted messaging, like something like Signal Messenger or something?
Correct. Yep. So that's the one where you can send the password to the user securely. So you basically end to end between IT Control Panel agent and the agent on the device. It's encrypting the message. They have to put a 2FA code in to read the message, and then they can see it. And then just like Mission Impossible, there's a counter that you can set on it where it just disappears off the screen after 10 seconds or 40 seconds or whatever you want to put.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of the 2FA messaging before. I'm an active Signal user, and I like the security Signal provides, but I have never heard of two-factor authentication messaging. So
there you go.
Neat.
Very cool. So look, this is just a quick slide to say that really where the market's going with a CX platform is to reduce your stack bloat and to get all of these types of things that you're doing and under the one platform. So instead of paying $100, $100, $100, $100 for all these different things, this is where the market's going. So our job is obviously to make it so that our functionality is at the same, if not ideally better than the standalone solutions. And therefore it's absolutely a gimme to say, well, for the same investment, I can get a CX platform, I can get vCIO, I can get all my web forms, identity security, live chat, all in the one thing. And that's where we're seeing the market going. So it's quite interesting in that regard. And obviously, as a platform, we're trying to be that one pane of glass, integrate with all the different tools that you're using so that you can basically ensure that user just goes to the one destination and they can get access to whatever it is that you're providing. That is our value, to sit in the middle for that one pane of glass for the customer. You've already got your one pane of glass with your PSA and RMM tools. They don't have a one pane of glass. They've got a disparate bookmarks of all these URLs you're trying to give them and email and everything else. So it's just a mess. So conceptually, one pane of glass for the customer. And really what we're saying to people now is that you can really get an instant ROI with the Teams app, Client Portal, and Office 365 PSA sync. Because the crazy thing is you can actually set this thing up in minutes. All like with our Teams app and this technology, which I'll show you today, is that all you need to do is go through a setup wizard. So it takes you a few minutes to set that up. And that, as part of that wizard, that'll help you connect your Office 365 tenancy. You then basically connect inside our portal, once we've connected to your tenancy, if you're registered as managing the other tenancies, we'll see that. And so all you need to do is go client, drop down, like match on each client in our system. So it takes, seconds each to do that. And then all you need to do is go to the tenancy of your client and download the app and tell it to pin it.
Okay.
So that's the Teams app version. So that's super fast. With our overall technology, you just use your RMM tool to deploy it and it's pretty much ready to go. So it is super fast to get going, but this Teams app is even faster if you just want to get something out the door quickly. So in terms of the way we break it up, just before going into a demo, we've really got the Teams app and Client Portal as the first package, where you're getting, all of that, plus the sync, plus approvals, etc. And then you get the agents, live chat and push and those types of things. That's the second one. This is where we add all the bots and automation here. And the last one includes the vCIO platform. So that's how we're sort of structured at the moment, depending on what people want to do and how they want to go about it.
Okay, I gotcha.
So yeah, a lot of people we're already seeing are starting to do the first one. So I guess let's just sort of show you live in action. So this is the app here on the desktop, and this is the Teams app version here. So you can see in Teams, you've got the IT button in Teams, which is awesome. I think it's pretty clear on what that is, and it's nicely branded, matching the same sort of branding here of your app. So whatever you've set up here is the type of thing here. If there's any functionality that doesn't work in Teams, it just won't show up there as a button, such as chat. That has to be this agent. Sorry, you were going to ask something?
No, I wasn't, but that's a perfect point for me to go in and say. So I just want to assess what I'm understanding here. So you've got an app by itself that probably was the first thing that you created, just the app, and then
Correct.
You've got the Office 365 Teams integration, which for all intents and purposes could replace the app.
Well, it's the combo. It's just
okay.
the only issue with the Teams apps are they're really just web pages fundamentally. And so therefore a lot of the smarts around push and identity security, where you've really got to have that agent talking to another agent, you won't be able to do those sorts of things. But it's the mixing and matching. It's the ability to tick boxes on however you want to do it and be everywhere if you want them to be, if you want your brand to be everywhere. And it's sort of each use case will be different. And this is where, from the client portal perspective, you're able to come through here and have the client portal, which is also inside the Teams app as well. So, and this is that concept of now, when you go in and you present your services and you can show them that you do it this way, it's chalk and cheese. Like, that just looks awesome. And, this is what the training bots look like, for example. So if I go here, this is just a widget enabling me to show you. Imagine when you first sit at your desk and, you set this up, say after 15 minutes of the agent being loaded, they get a little welcome message, and then it clicks off to being able to, be trained on, and if you have a video there or welcome or whatever you want to do, these are basically web pages. You can build whatever you want, right? So in terms of the training side of things, that's what I meant there. Let's show you just logging a ticket. It's syncing your ticket types, so it's super easy. It pops up straight away. They can type in there if they want to, hardware, but most people, you're not going to have a million top level ticket types, so it's super easy to just pick the one you want. Let's say it's a change request. And then this is an example of a bot popping up. So it's like, hey, Jamie, before you log this ticket, try this, or here are 2 articles you could read. So you can have up to 2 articles inside the training bot. So this is basically copying Zendesk. This is how Zendesk does it. It's a lot of people go, oh, I'll have a button that says knowledge base and they can go there and search about it. Have you ever met a non-technical person? Do you think they care about doing that? I mean, they could do that in Google anyway. They don't care. Like, they're just like, mate, I'm a lawyer. I need to print a freaking document. Let me get the printer working. Like, how do I do it?
Right.
So, you know, like, so what they do and what a lot of the tools, the bigger tools do, which obviously the PSAs don't seem to do, is embedding self-service. That's how you do it, right? And that's what these bots are doing. It's like, as they log a ticket, and you can set up the bots, these are manually done. In our space, it doesn't need to be AI at this point, I don't think, because you don't want to have something like this popping up on every ticket. Otherwise, people will just get agitated and go, "Oh my God, just let me log the ticket." Like, but certainly there's a use case for certain scenarios where a reboot would fix it, or just following some simple instructions would fix it. So there might be, 5 or 6 ticket types that you just know, man, if I could just put a bot on that, I'd save so much time, right?
Sure.
So that's where you can link them off to either an external thing that goes to a PDF or a page in your portal. So let's say, no, that's fine. And we'll skip that. So now this goes to a ticket form. So this is an example of a quick form that they can fill in and provide that additional information. We also have web forms that I'll show you, but this is where, as they're logging the ticket, you could say, no, I need you to give me this information before you log that ticket. RMMs can't do that. This is sort of the difference between like the self-service bots and here of where you get that massive step up. You can put information, you can make certain questions compulsory, others aren't. Well, you might just want to have 2 questions or 1. It's like, my printer's broken. Oh, great. Which printer? Can you tell me you've got 5? Like, which printer? So, it's those sorts of things. So, and then you've also got the approvals engine as well. This little box is just explaining who needs to approve it. So this is for me as the user logging the ticket. On the other side, the approvers in the client. So let's say the client's called Apple, and someone from Apple logs the ticket, and then the approvers inside Apple need to approve it before it goes to you, or it needs to be approved. So that's how that works. So you get a branded email from the MSP's branding, and say, hey, you need to approve this ticket. They approve it, or they can see it in here, and if they want to, and go forth and do that. So that works really well. You can turn some of these fields off as well if you don't want to. You don't have to have affected user priority. You can actually turn off the attachments as well if you wanted to. And that's where you're just picking what user it is, priority. We don't do priority in my MSP, for example. Otherwise, you know which one they'll pretty much select every time. And attach
Critical.
or take, yeah, critical every time. Everything's always critical. So there's the screenshot. We've done it like Snagit, so it's super easy. Like, boom.
Oh, that's
just
awesome.
Put them in there. Yeah.
I love
so you
Snagit.
can imagine exactly. Like, everybody loves it. I love it. And so effectively, if we were to bring in that screen recording thing, we'll just put a button in here saying, let's screen record. And then once they've finished, it will just attach it to the ticket and send it through.
Can I make a statement for an observation that I'm noticing?
Yep.
I'm noticing one thing that's really just very, very impressive is how fast, when you click, it's instantaneous. There is no wait time and lag. It's just boom, 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 boom. And I love that. That is great.
And that's the benefit of having a native app, right? So even in Teams, there's, because it's sort of loading a web page, it sort of loads and has a little thing there. But on the native app itself, it's awesome. And what, like, this is what a normal experience would be like, because you wouldn't have a bot and a form on every ticket. So most tickets would just be like, oh, it's a technical fault, other type issue, done.
Yep.
Like, that's it. So it is, if you're going to get people off email, it does need to be just as fast. So opening app, clicking log ticket, typing in the ticket type, and then just typing in that is done. There's no difference. Opening up Outlook, opening up new email, typing a subject, which you don't know what to say, and then typing in the body, which is kind of the same as the subject from a user's perspective. It's, if anything, that's probably slower, right?
Yeah.
So speed is really important. And obviously when you get that ticket, you get the full diagnostics as well coming through. So once if they wanted to sort of look at the client portal, this is where you can create. So you've come off client portal, or you go directly to your tickets page, which I'll show you in a second. You can create a custom homepage here. So whatever you want to have on this page to welcome them, you can do that. That's the point. It's like a custom, all these pages you can create, kind of like WordPress. Super easy to do. You just have a little editor in there, and you create, whatever you want to do. So basically, this is where the menu comes across the top, where you can create whatever menu items you want and whatever order that you want them to be. So effectively, if you want to sort of delete some of these, have drop downs, do whatever you want to do, you can move them around. And that's an example here of the ticket view. So this is doing a live sync of the tickets. So instead of us as being another maybe risk vector for MSPs of storing your data, we don't store it. We don't store it. So any ticket data, by the way, that gets logged through, we purge attachments, forms, diagnostics information, all that stuff every 30 days, and we can dial it down to a lower period if you want us to as well. Our goal is not to be, another area that could be a risk vector. So that's why we do a sync of the ticket types. And so that's done a live sync to the PSA. Sometimes as a manager, if you're a manager, it takes a little bit just to load because you're loading all tickets for the company. And then once you're in, that user can come in and add a note to a ticket, close a ticket, and they basically have just visibility of what's going on. How many tickets do you get where they're actually chasing up a ticket?
What?
Like it's a double ticket. So now you're like, oh, that's just a chase up of an existing ticket. So effectively, it's all about, and that's that communication value that I'm talking about, is the visibility, showing them what's actually going on. So this is where they could see approvals. I don't think this will have any in here. I'll show vCIO in a sec. So this is where you have your service catalog. Oh, this is awesome, being able to put whatever you want in here in terms of linking them off to web forms that then log as tickets using the API. So effectively, you could search. So if you had quite a big thing, the cool thing is you just search on something. Once they find it, you create. This is our web forms. You create the web forms. You can have sign off on it. They submit it. It logs it in as a ticket, and you configure that to be what ticket type, what subtype, and all that sort of jazz. So that's where you can really go to town on having different service catalogs if you want to, and works really well. So yeah. So basically, this is where you can then show natively in the platform Office 365 licensing. So this is once again doing it. That just did a sync with Office 365, so that was pretty quick. Obviously, this is a little sandboxy set of licenses we have just to demo, but you can appreciate if a company just had a lot of licenses, that all be listed down there. Sure. And for the user perspective, you see it from a user perspective as well. You can also see this data from the Envarisoft portal. This is the portal where you manage everything. All right. So you can go to the client and actually see this data as well. So this is where that customer, once again, taking away the darkness, can see all of their information at their fingertips. We're about to release this one as well. It just requires an agent update here, where you'll be able to show the desktops, laptops, and configure them green, yellow, red accordingly. So this is coming from our agent, this data, so that finally the customer's like, how many times you get a ticket saying, can you just send me a spreadsheet of all of our devices? And can you tell me which ones I think I need to replace? These ones, the red ones. So the final version will be a little bit different from this. We've actually realized, well, because sometimes a device could be yellow or green and red in certain areas of the device. So where the coloring will be sort of more specific to the cells themselves. But really, this is awesome. Being able to show all of that information in your client portal is really what the customer wants. They want you to take away the darkness. Some people have been doing cool stuff by linking straight off the app or here in the portal, things like speed tests. So they can just get on and check that out. You can see how slow the internet is in Australia. I don't know, it's probably 1,000 for you guys. So whatever you want to do, you can have knowledge base. So you could do it your own style of knowledge base with putting in videos that you want. I mean, if you didn't know, a lot of people pay for the training, but there's so much content from Microsoft out there that you could just help clients with and have it embedded in here. So that's an example of using it this way. Or you could use our service catalog style of doing it, where they can search on the items and go, oh yeah, no, I want to watch a video, or, so I'll click here, there's the video, boom, start watching it. So you can get the gist about how much better an experience is when you've got the app that then links through to a beautiful portal that can do whatever it is you want to do, right?
Nice.
So that's the cool thing there. And this is the app, which I should have opened, which is IT Control Panel. And so this is the app for your team. You can put TFA on this, on your logins. That's the same as the login to our portal. And this is the app where you're able to manage the live chat in that sense. So I'll show you just a little bit of that in action where, so this is the app you can have as an engineer open, and you can choose to outbound chat with someone, send a message, secure message. You can send, secure verification, secure message, and so on and so forth. So I'll show you what chat looks like on the inbound. So if you don't want to do inbound, you just don't have the button. Remember how I said earlier, you can customize the buttons to suit. Just don't have it. Or if you a client that's quite large, you win this big deal, it's like 10, 15 grand a month. You're like, but they're like, I need chat. You're like, well, I'm probably gonna have to do it if I want my 15 grand a month. So you could just have chat button for their button collection. When they click chat, you've got optional here to have the ticket types pop up. The reason why you do that is so that you can get the right information when they start the chat, but also it means the bots are in play. So you also might want to stop a chat from coming to you as well if it's unnecessary. So, so let's just click that. I need help with my printer, request chat, and that then comes through. They get a nice branded window there to show the chat, and then you can see this brought it to the front. When I'm sharing my screen, it also has a toast message, but it seems to suppress the toast for some reason. But so that's where you got the timer. So that's sort of matched to what the user's seeing as well. So this is the user, nice branded chat window. And this is what you see as the engineer. So you're like, oh, okay, I'll take that chat. If you don't take the chat, they'll just be asked to log a ticket, and you can set the timer on that so that you can see that was counting down from 60 seconds. Sure, what's the issue? And that then pops up on the screen for the user, back and forth, bing bang. So that's really cool. So you can see how now with this technology, you've just got this much more modern experience. Even if you don't want to do inbound, which I'd say 9 out of 10 MSPs probably don't want to do. Obviously, if we build it, we've got to build it both ways. You can do an outbound chat, and it's the same experience. We search the user. So let's say I close that chat out of interest, it'll show that they left on your end. So you're like, oh, they left. And this is where you search on a user and you find only the ones that are online. Obviously, you can't chat with someone if they're not online. And then you start the subject, first message, start the chat. All right, super easy. So, and that's the same sort of thing with our secure messaging, where you go, okay, Jamie, I want to confirm your identity. I can either have a code entry, yes, no, accept, a decline, etc. So if I send that, now we're currently using polling. So, so it does take sort of on the outbound anywhere from sort of 5 seconds to 30 seconds to actually get through. And we are migrating to a real-time comp. So once we get to real-time, this will all be instant, and it'll open up the ability to do some other stuff as well. So effectively, because we will be building web chat too, so you can do web chat in that way. So which will obviously work with IT Control Panel. So this is an example where, hey, please confirm your identity. You've either emailed them the code or you've just saying it over the phone. It's probably most likely over the phone. So they then put the code in, 7376. It goes for them and it tells you that they entered the correct code. Now let's go, oh, okay, cool. I'll send you that password. This is where it's only secure code because that's that 2FA messaging thing. Now you can have code entry timeout. So it doesn't matter if there's no timeout on that because it's just, you know, they still need the code that you're giving them.
Sure.
But you can set the time on that. And then message display, obviously you do not want to have no timeout on that because, I mean, it's a password or something. So you can set the timer on that. So let's say 60 seconds. Your password is Apple. And you know, when those auto-generated passwords are so convolutedly massive with, you know, multiple cases and numbers and everything, it's just so much easier to email it, not email, but digitally send it to someone. But you can't email it because that's not secure. So same sort of thing. You can just get the user whilst we sort of build out this real-time thing to right click and refresh. And that will pop through to the user. So, hey, to read your secure message, sent from demo account, to read the message, please enter here. And that's where they've got to put the code in. So let's say 2067. And now I'd set that one to 60 seconds. So now they've got 60 seconds to copy that out and take it and boom. And like Mission Impossible or Snapchat, it'll just disappear.
You know, I'm just surprised that you wouldn't try to secure it a little bit more and make it at least Apple One.
Exactly, Apple 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so there's the example of that, and so really we're building this little toolkit here that just there hasn't, you know, people, the PSAs and RMMs just really haven't nailed this side of things. Push notifications, you can do full push broadcasting in our portal, so create groups, templated messages, and all that sort of stuff. But this is really designed in here just to send a one-off message to someone. You can pick the color of the message. So, you know, let's do blue, ITBOG color. You can do a toast, which is a smaller style that pops up right, or the full dialogue in the middle, send now, send later. Put a template message in there and send that off. Now, the value of the push is, you know how you just might be struggling to get, you know, a hold of someone, or you've actually, you know, they said to you, look, log in after, like, I'm going to lunch for the next hour, so can you just fix it then? And what most MSPs are doing are leaving a notepad note on the device, hoping that they read that. Whereas you could say, cool, I've fixed your PC. This is it. If you need to, you know, anything else, just let me know. And it just sits there waiting for them. This one won't disappear. This will just sit there until they get rid of it. So you can see that modern, when you combine all of what we're doing here, user experience, and having all of this, whether it be here, or even if you want the entry level style, where's Teams, you know, putting it in Teams. So being able to, I'll close that now, you know, log that ticket in Teams, or access the client portal, or whatever you want to do. You know, it's just a new age of being able to provide this you know, modern customer experience. And the last thing I'll show you, which I'll always leave it to the last, because
before you get in that last thing, I want to ask you a question. It kind of goes back to what you just showed. Is there a way to send like a broadcast message to all of the assets across all your clients with this? Like if you wanted to say, hey, we're gonna we need you to reboot or something, you know, if that's one of the issues that we struggle with our managed endpoints, is a lot of times, you know, we don't see their screen. So we want to make sure that they're not in the middle of something, and it'd be really nice to send a message. And sometimes the RMM does it, sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, we're just never quite sure.
So that's where you just come into the portal and you go, I just need to send to that client a push. Or there was a button that said send to all if you wanted to. And then you create your groups. So you might have a group saying like main contacts or whatever it happens to be. And well, there's one that someone's done, and they click that, and that'll just go to all your main contacts as a group.
Okay. So you can get really granular with it. I got you.
You can get super granular. And the push currently works on Windows, iOS, and Android. We are re-architecting our mobile platform, which does incorporate Mac. And so what that's like, we've started fresh from the ground up. It's quite a big project, so it'll be something in sort of probably Q2 next year that will come out. But it means that we'll have feature parity, because the Windows agent, if anyone knows about development, it's just a lot easier to build things to do this type of stuff. Mobile and Mac in particular is particularly difficult. So we'll get parity feature set wise, but the cool thing is, as part of that, we're actually building a mobile version of IT Control Panel. So you'll be able to literally go on your phone and just go, I want to chat with someone or send a secure message or do whatever you want.
Without being from a workstation.
Correct. Straight from your phone, from your mobile app, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. So that's how you do the push. And going back to the portal, this is our vCIO, being able to present your vCIO and have it always available to the customer to actually present, you know, your findings to them. So you've got your standard way of doing a presentation, which is how my MSP does it, or you can add tabs in between these. So if you want to add a tab after audit to show the devices in there, you can put it in there as part of the presentation. So think of it kind of like a web-based PowerPoint presentation. Why I am categorically convinced that the rest of the vCIO tools have only solved half the problem. The half they have solved, they do a good job. I'm not going to deny that. But if you then realize what a vCIO tool really should do, I kind of feel like they've had a bit of a shocker in Australian language, and they haven't helped you. And I'll show you why. When you present recommendations to a client, you want to have a bit of an overview. Hey, we're here today to talk about this. Some of the tools do that. Great. You then go through your audit, and there is no doubt that a traffic light system is the best way to present to a customer. Most of the tools do this, but most of them as well create super long-winded reports. And I don't know if you've ever actually presented to a non-technical business owner, but do you honestly think they're going to read pages and pages and pages of information about a firewall? And I know this because I did it for 15 years. I used to write essays about UPSs and firewalls and like gracefully shutting down, if there's a power outage or a surge. No one cares. They just go, is it good or is it not good? And you just have a little blurb. And I even literally to this day, one of my guys for some reason wrote an essay about something, and the client said, look, yeah, I get that. Can you just, how much is it going to be? And the poor guy had spent like a Sunday writing this page about stuff. I don't know why I did it, because we don't usually do that. So the proof is in the pudding. Nobody cares of that essay style. So they just want to know what's good, what's bad, what's ugly. And so you do that. So that, again, most of the tools will have some way, shape of doing that. We do that pretty simply, one page to get the point across. But here's where they all fall down. And it's bad that they fall down in this. Most of the tools, I mean, all of them, I haven't seen anyone that does it our way, where they basically imagine they would only have this page, and they have a column here that says, they have the column there that says budget. And it says, I don't know, files and folders. To go to Office 365, I would budget around $5,000 to do that project. Oh, you need a new firewall. That's about $1,200. Internet. Yep, that's about $300 a month. That's it. Now, how does a customer make a buying decision from that? So what you'll find, and I now have empirical evidence to prove this, is that speaking to MSPs, it's qualitative information, is that when you do that, you've just delayed the sales cycle. Inevitably, they do this huge presentation of all the things they found, and then the next step is you have to almost have another meeting or send the customer a quote, because all you've done is given them some budget items, and the customer's like, well, okay, well, which ones do I need? Can you do a quote for the ones I need? Like, well, help me out here. So then what happens is you've split the meeting into two. Their interest level has waned, and you basically have crickets and darkness, because you're thinking, great, I did this awesome presentation, showed them all the stuff, and now I'm going to send them a quote. But they haven't made a buying decision yet, the customer. You're still just shoving a number in front of them and hoping they say yes. Sure. And I can tell you from experience, it does not work. And everyone that does that, they don't know this. The vCIO tools have had an absolute shocker and don't know it either, because they've clearly been built by technical people that have no understanding of the sales cycle. And so effectively, that's where they fall down. They look good, they show some good information, but they absolutely suck at helping, sorry to be colloquial, but I get quite passionate about it, but they really do, at helping you as an MSP sell stuff. And if you've got a pipeline, like most MSPs won't do this. Let's say I put in an Excel spreadsheet all your clients, and then next to each client, you say, okay, what do they kind of need? Like, how much is the pipeline of stuff they need? Not stuff you randomly want to sell them that's, salesy style. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally stuff they need. A couple of new desktops, that new firewall. They do need that project to migrate to Office 365, whatever. If you went down every client, and most MSPs have between 25 to 50 managed clients. Obviously, if you're smaller, you have a little less. You sort of 5 to 10 or whatever, but let's say it's 50. If you have 50 clients, I can guarantee they need to spend around $10,000 each. And when you factor in everything that they could possibly buy, a couple of laptops are like $4,000. So, sure. So if it's $10,000 each, you've got a $500,000 pipeline. And most people don't actually look at a pipeline like that. They don't sit there going, oh yeah, I've got $500,000. Let's try and chase it and get it and squeeze it into a shorter period of time. They won't do that. And this whole thing of like, let's say they do go out and have that conversation. If you use the current vCIO methodology, you're actually delaying it and you're spreading this pipeline out longer because they're not making decisions. So to solve that internally in my MSP, we built this concept of solution builder. Now we've been doing that in a Word document for a decade. So it doesn't actually matter whether you do it in Word or you do it in a portal like this. This is cooler because it adds it all up for you. But it's the concept is what the client wants. In one table that may spread over 2 pages, but it inevitably doesn't. Like you can get most of the things you need to tell the customer in one table on 1 page of an A4 page. Here we've obviously graphically spread it out a bit, so it looks nice. But you can come to them and say, great. So, because what they do, what a customer says when you get to the end, they're like, okay, cool, I get it. So for this yellow and red stuff, like, what do you recommend? Like, what are you recommending we do? I'm glad you asked. This is what we recommend. You've got 3 options. This is the minimum that you need to do to solve the burning things. If you want to go to the next level and we do a little bit more of an investment, that's here. And then this is your Rolls-Royce style. You have a network diagram for each one. And conceptually, what you're doing here is you're not playing your hand on price either. Right?
So you're using the good, better, best
Correct.
mentality. Okay.
Good, better, best. First 2 prices close together. Third price is the anchor price that caters to your Rolls-Royce, but it really is contextualizing the other 2 and making them look more affordable. If you rocked up to most small business clients and said it's 25 grand to fix some stuff, they're like, oh my God. But if you go 10, 25 and 40, 25 doesn't seem so bad and next to 40, does it?
No.
I mean, it's still a big number, but at least they're thinking to themselves, well, I'm not spending 40. And, you know, behaviorally, a customer making a decision not to choose something in their mind is an instant saving, right? So how it works is they never actually end up picking good, better, or best. It's just the way to start the conversation, because the way this system works is that you go through each one. You're like, okay, that's red. We need to do something. So you're either going to get another NAS or, you know, use, you know, Datto or Shadow Protect or whatever, or we could go to the cloud. Like, this is the one we recommend. What do you want to do? And they go, well, actually, I want to go to the cloud. So now that reduces this total and puts it and increases the monthly. And then they go, well, look at this server. This one's just out of warranty. It's still doing its thing. So, but you can't just have a server sitting there with no warranty. So bearing in mind, you've got another server that needs to be, let's pretend that was red. Let's say this server needs to be replaced or go to the cloud or infrastructure as a service or whatever. Well, let's focus on that one. Let's just do the extended warranty on that one. And let's buy you that 8 grand server there. All right. Okay. Yeah, fair call. And that's the example of having a solution builder.
I see. So when you pick the things from good, better, best category, and then the green is what you're doing for this client.
It's the client preferred solution.
Got it.
Right. And then it starts adding up down the right. And this is the difference. Now you've got the customer engaged in the decision making. You're getting them to make decisions. You're demonstrating that you're on their side with budget. So you're not coming across like a salesperson that's just trying to shove a solution down your throat. You're showing, I would argue, this demonstrates more your technical acumen, because they can clearly see you know what you're talking about. There's all these different options they can choose, and you've laid it out in a way that's so simple to understand that they just have to, once they go through each one, you know, have that there. And you can have see how that pops up saying test. You have commentary that pops up there to remind you of what to say if you want to do that and that sort of jazz. So now what happens is they get to the end and they go, well, let's sort of add it up a bit more. So that let's do that there. So let's just say it's $13,000. Now they're like, oh, okay, well, now that I've talked to you about it, we've worked out that what I want to do is only 13 grand a month, 13,000 up front and $1,200 a month. So you say to the client, great. The next step for me is to do a quote, but is there anything standing in the way of going ahead with this to solve all these problems that we clearly need to solve fairly urgently, and we can deal with the rest in next quarter or in the next 6 months, because you've now given yourself some time by putting that extended warranty and whatever else to solve it. The client inevitably says, yeah, sure. No, that's all good, because they've picked it. So when you send the quote, you are literally sending a quote for sign off, rather than the current way that virtually every MSP does it, is sending a quote to go through this. Because when you send a quote and you haven't gone through the quote with them, they're like, all right, so what do I need to do? Because all you did was spend so much time talking about the problems of the audit results. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is how you get buying decisions faster, by getting the customer to buy as opposed to you selling something to them and then having just to say yes or no. So it's fascinating psychology, and we've built that in. And it's why I just back it. I've never met anyone that disagrees with me yet. I'm sure there will be at some point, but at this point, no one's disagreed with me that this is a very thorough, simple, easy to understand way to get a customer to make a decision. Because I think what most techos do is they think the job's done by presenting by presenting their findings. The job is not done. You need to solve the problem. And the only way to solve most of the problems is to sell the customer something, whether it be project hours or a product. They've got to buy something to solve a problem. Like, it is what it is, even if it's just time. So then you can show them the roadmap. All right, this is our plan. You probably just come with a tentative roadmap, and then you change it, and they can, comment on these. They can comment overall on the conversation. But now you can see the value of having all of this inside the client portal, easily accessible. They can see historic presentations as well in here. And as I say, you can customize tabs to include more information as well. So really, this overall as a platform, you can sort of see is ticking a lot of boxes for what MSPs would do. And for those that go, oh my God, there's so much to set up. Honestly, most of this stuff is super fast, and we help you do it anyway. So like setting up the app buttons, 10 minutes, the branding, a minute. I can do it in a minute. Like it's super fast to set up all of that. And you don't, conceptually, what you got to think about here is you get something basic out the door, boom, I'm now off stickers and mouse pads, and you build from there. You don't have to have your bot set up. You don't have to have all your forms set up. You don't have to have approvals set up. Just get it out the door so they start using it and logging tickets. And most of this stuff is all hard coded and is super fast to set up as well. So instant, and this stuff, IT control panel works instantly as soon as you've got the agent out there. So now you've got this beautiful look and feel straight away for the customer. They're seeing that, and you can sort of build on it over time. So there you go. I'll jump back into here. So just to give people sort of an understanding again of how it all works and sort of investment. So that's the options. This one is the fast one, set up and deploy 30, 60 minutes. So if you want to just get off mouse pads and stickers, you can do that instantaneously almost and move on. We know most MSPs don't have time to do anything. And so we're trying to build stuff so that they can tick the CX box, but not see it as this massive project that's just going to get delayed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Do it first so that you've ticked it off and you're demonstrating awesomeness as opposed to delaying it. If you want to do the whole platform, it takes a couple of days, but we'll help you do it and it's done, right? Like, and then you're off to the races and clients are just absolutely loving life. So that's how it works. Most people start there, and it's new for us, and that's what we're starting to see. And then, and this is how it works. So we've actually got some good deals going on at the moment that end November 15th. So anybody watching this, this is where the Teams app, so it's super affordable. We're the only ones that go down to these two ranges. Our competitors don't. So if you're small, we want everybody to get on board. We don't want to discriminate on your size. So if you're a wee bit smaller, for $89 a month, you can do that. And you can see that it's really affordable to get on the Teams app client portal. If you want the whole kit and caboodle, we have the deal going where you get 2 free months on any of this, but we've got another deal going where for this column, you get everything. So instead of like you're getting the enterprise, so every feature set for this. So if you were at 100 users, it's only a little bit more. If you're 250, it's only a little bit more, 500, a little bit more, etc. And you can have the whole platform done. So,
Nice.
So that's basically, that's the Envarisoft platform. And, there will be more and more coming in the future. We're going to do push ticket updates. So when a ticket is updated, the customer gets a push notification. We've been focusing on our Teams and Office 365 stuff, kind of got pushed ahead of that. We're going to have CSAT included in our platform. So being able to send out surveys as well. Imagine when a ticket's closed and the Windows push notification pops up saying, hey, what did you think? Yes or no? We think that's going to get you more feedback. You've got all the mobile stuff coming. We've got, with our vCIO platform, we've got assessments as well. So that's the one thing some of the other tools have. That's more of an internal process thing. And so we'll be ticking that box, and we're going to have web chat, just so many things that'll be coming through. So there's lots of innovation to come. But yeah, Scott, what do you think now that you've seen it all?
I think it's great. I do have a question about your billing though. Do you do contracts, like year contracts with MSPs?
So it's monthly. So you can see their prices are monthly, or that is monthly, but it is a month-to-month license, sorry.
Okay. So it's month to month.
It's month to month.
So
and the way it works is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so an MSP could try it for a month, and if they found that they didn't like it or anything, they just were out the money for the month. That's it.
You've got a 14-day. You can do a 14-day free trial. If you wanted to take advantage of these deals, this will give you 2 months free anyway. So, so you can fiddle with that. You will be charged onboarding if you sign up. So if you just want to trial it, do the trial. If you sign up on the 2 months thing, we do onboarding because we want you to. You're signing up, so we're going to go through a process and help you set it up and do all that sort of stuff.
Make sure it's right.
Yeah, there's not, I mean, it's such a low amount really in the scheme of things. Yeah. And you can start on whatever agent count and move up and down. So whatever deal you get, you'll be in that deal and you can move up and down the user count and at any time. So you can start at a lower number if you wanted to, and then move up from there. And the way it works licensing wise, it is users. In the past, we were doing agents. Now it's users. And what it means is that you will have, if you bought sort of 500 users, for example, you would have 500 agents, and an agent is installed on a Windows, iOS, Android, Mac, and 500 teams. Whichever number is the higher that we're sort of, well, it's 500 in terms of the sync of Office 365. So whichever one is higher is what you get charged with. So intrinsically, you can have 500 agents out there and 500 teams apps out there at the same time. And you'll just get billed for 500
users,
because it's whichever one is the most. So yeah. So if you did 1,000 users and you were syncing using our Office 365 sync 1,000 users, but you only had 10 agents out there, you'd be billed at 1,000 users in that sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty easy. And so really, asking the audience, it's only an hour to get going, to get that ROI. What's standing in the way? Like, why continue with mouse pads and stickers? That's kind of the challenge we're laying down for everybody. And yeah, obviously, if anybody's got any questions, come through to envarisoft.com and let us know if you want to have a trial of it. So that's my presentation today, Scott.
Sounds great. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. You've got a brilliant product. I know I just became introduced to your product. So looking forward to learning more and hearing what other MSPs, how creative they're getting with the product. So really nice platform. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Not a problem at all. My pleasure. And look forward to continuing the conversation in IT Business Owners Group. Love the community. You've done a great job, mate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie.